What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Coach Ken from Give It a Try. It is week number 30, 2025. Here we go with another quick athlete talk, mainly again for the coached athletes, but keeping it public here because so many of you just follow along here, and I think a lot of you get some good information out of it, and I really just appreciate the feedback. So thanks again. We'll keep this a little quick tonight, but where are we at? Another Metal Monday. It is Monday afternoon here on July 22nd. Lake Placid this weekend. We had a couple coached athletes there. Had a veteran athlete, a first timer out there. It was awesome to track other people that I've trained with in the past. A lot of people repeating that race again. They just love going up there and crushing that course. Again, it wasn't really another great day weather-wise. I did see a lot of rain on the bike there, watching it on the live stream, and I will be recapping with those athletes this week. We're really still just recapping the large handful of athletes from Muscle Man the week before, because that was a very tough race. It was a non-wetsuit swim. A lot of athletes chose not to wear a wetsuit. It was a rough swim. It was a hot day. It is a pretty neutral average course up there. It's a tough course. It's definitely not an easy course. I wouldn't call it like a beginner course where you can kind of go head down and just crush it. So it does have its own little things there. So we're working through all of that. And Placid, we all know it's Placid. And again, let alone on a good day, is that course tough to tame. But then when you throw out some curveballs out there, it becomes just another monster all in of itself. And that has become a theme lately, it seems, based on the numerous Ironman branded races that I've done, or just mid to long course stuff. Man, it just seems like even the coached athletes, like all those races that these coached athletes have been doing over the past few years, not many have been presented with this magical day, where training went awesome. You checked all the boxes. You're doing all the stuff you need to do. Your nutrition, your fueling, everything's on point. And then you're just envisioning this great day from start to finish out there. But we have to remember that that is not the case. And a majority of the time, it is not the case. You will be presented with something that you will have to deal with out there that is outside the controllables. We're controlling what we can to show up there on race day. Our training, our fueling, our nutrition, our strength training, all these little tiny pieces, our rest and recovery, all this stuff leading up into that day, our preparation for our equipment, everything. And then there's always going to be some curveball. But it's those that are able to take that curveball, learn from it. They've had them in training, they've adapted to them, and they're able to hit that out of the park on race day. Because if it's a 2,000 person event, if it's a choppy swim, 2,000 people are going to deal with that chop. If it's raining on the bike course, 2,000 people are going to deal with that on the bike course. If it's a really hot and humid run, 2,000 people are going to be dealing with that on the run course. So it's all about who basically is prepared for that, who can adapt to this adversity out there on the course and really win the day. So it doesn't really become a you versus you versus the last time you did that course, as much as we can compare the numbers, because every time we go out there on a course that's going to be hours long, there is no 2 days that are the same. So you have to take that kind of with a grain of salt and just really look at the day itself and how you performed in what was given to you, and then assess from there and then move forward with your training. So that's what we got with that. That's the last thing I'm going to say about this adversity that we face on race days. Let's talk about running real quick. New York City Marathon, everybody's in full swing. I have another coaching consult tonight for somebody who needs to jump into a training program a little later than I would have liked. We'll see what their goals are with that. But that's something where if you're still maybe thinking about a coach for one of these fall marathons, this is like game time to figure that out, because it's tough to get on board with a coach just a few months out from the event when you should be building already. We should have built a history together, but we will adapt. We'll overcome. We'll see what the goals are. We'll see if we can meet in the middle, come up with the best approach that we can from now leading into it to get them done with what they're looking to do for that. But this also goes for a bunch of other fall marathons that I have athletes training for, is that core group of runners that are training for these fall marathons are basically in full swing now. They're in these plans. They're weeks in, some further along than others. If you have a late September marathon, an October, November marathon, you're all in a plan right now. You're all chugging along, moving along. The stuff's going to start to get long for that, the New York City Marathon. You're going to start getting some long weekends in there. Just get through the summer. That's my biggest thing with that for these fall marathons. It's hot. It's humid. What you're running now is not going to be what you're running in the fall. I can guarantee you, if you stick to it, adjust your intensity now just to tone it down a little bit to get through this mucky part of the summer that you're going to wind up coming out on the other end, and you're going to start to see these times light up as the cooler weathers come and your body becomes a lot more efficient out there with being able to just handle it. So you guys are going to be good. You guys are in good hands right now. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. This leads to another question about running, which I had with an athlete this week. They said, should I be running in the morning or should I be running in the afternoon? In some substance with that, I gave them a quick answer. I said, that's a great question, and that's exactly why we do these videos. So for me, when I'm into it, when I'm into my training, when I'm busy with work and family and all stuff, mornings, it's got to be mornings. It's got to be before the chaos of the day when you have other things you need to do. You got to get to work. You have to get to family places. But this summer, I haven't done a lot of early sessions. Even with cycling, I've been able to kind of let the day unfold just due to scheduling reasons. And I've been just kind of leaning into that heat. I don't mind it anymore. Like, I don't mind taking my bike out at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning and heading out on the road and it being like a little steamy out there. Like, I enjoy it. I'm enjoying that heat acclimation. I'm leaning into the summer. Again, you have to adjust your intensity and your expectations for that workout if it's hot, but you will get a little benefit back from being out there in the sun, out there on the heat. Because really, look at what just happened with Muscle Man just over a week ago, was when we stepped out onto the run course, which if we're talking a 7 o'clock start and say we had 3-hour bike, hour swim plus transitions, you're talking 4 hours, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11:30, you're stepping onto this half marathon. If you really haven't run in that heat all summer, it's going to hit you. It's going to hit you like hard, like a punch to the face. So some of that stuff, be guided by what is your race coming up? What is your goal coming up? If we're training for this fall marathon in November, even though it can be hot, we know it can be hot on Marathon Day or New York City Day, we don't really need that specificity for the heat to really over fatigue ourselves right now. Could we ease into it? Yes, but doing it now, and then if it cools off in September, we're going to lose that heat adaptation anyway. So you kind of just like ran through it all for kind of like really no reason in the summertime and struggled a little bit. So if you can do it, get out there morning, hit it down, unless we have a specific reason to build for this heat because you have a midsummer race or something like that. That would be a good reason to mix in some of those. And it doesn't have to be all the time. It does take about 2 weeks though for full heat acclimation. And then after a few days of not being out in the heat and doing it, you start to progressively lose that. So just keep that in mind as well. It's just not this one and done. I ran a couple times and now I'm good for the summer. It is something you do have to keep up on. So just keep that in the back of your head with all that. Reading into some of these Facebook groups, I love them. I love these event specific groups, especially like these 70.3 groups for these races, as the questions people ask afterwards. A question somebody asked, and I don't know why I wrote this down and thought it was funny, but they're like, how do you handle your race day morning nutrition? And I just like shake my head when I see these things. I'm like, what do you mean? How do you handle race day morning nutritions? You just do what you did all summer. Like what are you going to race 2 or 3 times a year? Practice your race morning nutrition those 2 or 3 times throughout the year on race day? Not going to happen. So again, with the fueling, with the nutrition, with all that, do what you do in training on race day. That's why I say take notes, do things. When you go for that long ride and run brick session on the weekend, you go for your long run on Sunday or whatever days you do it. Do the stuff in the morning you're going to do on race day. Because when it comes, it's just another day. The stress is taken out of it. And you don't have to ask these absurdly crazy questions like, like if someone says like, how do you handle your 70.3 nutrition on the bike course? Well, the same way you did it when you did your, your 50 or 60 mile ride in training. It's just the same thing. So again, nothing new on race day. I just find some humor in some of those posts. And again, do what you do in training and you'll have it all lined up and you'll have a great day on race day. And a couple final notes here is race day. We talked about it at the beginning. We all want a perfect race day. And we can get down on ourselves, especially if we've been good at something, progressing at something. You may see progress. Progress isn't always a leap. It could be a small step sometimes. But when you start to maybe get in a hole of a couple races that didn't go as planned, and you start second guessing, am I doing the right work? What am I doing? What's going on? Race day is not always a showcase of what your ability is. Because out of, like I said, those 2,000 people that could be signed up for a race, when you're given a weird set or just a odd set of circumstances that, we can't control on race day, whatever that is for everybody. There'll be strengths and weaknesses on all ends for everybody. Some people like cycling in the rain, are comfortable with that. Some people will drastically slow down their speed because they may not be confident in their bike skills. So there are some things out there that we may not be able to see what your true potential is on race day, is what I'm trying to say here. What's a good thing about a coach and being like the eyes and ears of the training is I can see the work as well that you've done. And, it's really only like, so if an athlete doesn't have a coach, like the athlete sometimes is the only one that sees the work that they put in, like all that hard work leading up to race day. If you do have a coach, they as well see it. So at least there's a little team pack there where at the end we can recap and reassure each other that no, don't get down on yourself. You did everything you needed to do through training. You checked all the boxes. It unfortunately wasn't that showcase that we were looking for on race day. And again, if you can get in the mentality of understanding that things don't always go to plan. I've showed up to a few race lines where I got sick prior, 24 hours prior to those races. I actually won this year, a 70.3, and then as well another 70.3 a couple years ago, a stomach issue the night before. Again, you could have been prepped prior to like, this is the one. I feel amazing. Something happens. There's just an odds, or your body just doesn't have it that day. Like we all know there's weekends in training where you feel great, you feel motivated, and then there's other weekends where you're like, I just got to get through this. I don't even want to be here. Those are all natural emotions. Those are all natural things that everybody feels throughout this entire training and racing journey and everything with endurance. So just remember, if that race day is not the gold standard you thought it was going to be, that showcase, that just amazing day to show everybody the hard work you put in. The thing is, yes, that is a race result that is online and lasts forever, but truly what should change you as a person and as an athlete and somebody that's in this game is the work that's put into it. Because you could have two people who, same thing. One person puts in all the training, all the work, everything, and the other person just haphazardly goes about it, whatever, and shows up on race day. Maybe this person has a few circumstances that come up, short changes what we thought their result was. This person just happens to have a magical day. It happens, and they have a better result. And they, someone says, "Oh my God, look at this! Look what that person did better." But deep down inside, those people know like what work was really put in to get to that, and all those sessions, all those weeks, all those months, hours, everything that you put into that, nobody can take that away from you. That's what makes you better in all other aspects of your life, was all of that hard work that you put in, all the showing up you did, all those early mornings you put in, all that stuff. There's even been a bunch of, DNFs lately out of races of good athletes that I know and follow. And that's nothing against them. That's nothing against who they are or the work that they put in. Absolutely not. That has nothing to do with any of that. They showed up, they did the training, they did all that stuff, and they even showed up on race day to try and give it a go, and unfortunately something happened. So if you're doing it, you're getting it done, you're still in the game, you're still disciplined, you're still consistent, A+ in my book, and that's what I'm looking for in an athlete. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Race results, again, are something as a secondary in nature that may come, and you may have some PRs and some good days along the way. Last thing for the night, I don't get too much into it because I can make an entire episode on this, and I'll probably touch base on it in how we compare different metrics out there. But one of the biggest things was time versus distance workouts, and I just want to touch on that really quick because it will further answer another athlete's question from this week. I worked with them in a prior season, and we went with some more distance metrics in some of the workouts. I've reappropriated a lot of the plans from marathon to half Ironman this year, and really started to lean into this time-based approach for not just some of the workouts, but a majority, if not all of the workouts across all the plans now. Why do I think that's important? Because it's something I changed as well through this training. And again, I saw the benefits of it, so I wanted to make sure that the athletes are getting that as well. I'll still template what basically an average time should be to complete some of these distances. But let's say, for instance, that somebody is going out for what would have been a 40-mile ride in preparation for an event. Now, I'll even just use myself, when I train, is I can typically train at 20 miles per hour at where I train. So I know it's going to take me about a 2-hour ride. But there are some athletes where it will take their training speed is at about a 15 miles per hour. So they're going to be out there significantly longer trying to hit this 40-mile metric. Now, at the end of that workout, they may be out there 2 hours, 30 minutes or 2 hours, 40 minutes versus my 2 hours. So they're actually getting this really longer fatiguing workout in than, say, myself, who's quote unquote a little bit of a faster athlete. So that has trying to kind of level the playing fields with that. So now that if I have two people that have to go get a workout in, it can just be, hey, you have 2 hours, you have 3 hours, you have 4 hours on the bike, especially as we get to the long stuff. And then it also depends. Now you have the ability to, if I'm going to go ride flat, I can get my 2 hours in, I'm good. And then if I'm going to go on a really hilly ride and get my 2 hours in, I'm going to do 2 hours of hills. But if I took that 40-mile ride and went and crushed heads down on the flats, I'm going to get it done in significantly less time than 40 miles climbing on all this terrain. That could take me 2 hours, 40 minutes. So really trying to level the playing field with that. And as well, because we're going by time, it also opens up your ability where if you have an hour run during the week, time-wise, you know you need to allot an hour for that training session. Whereas if I were to give somebody 6 or 7 miles for this run, often as well, more times than not, we kind of go out and don't do the workout specifically as stated because there's a distance metric. Think about it. If you start a little late and you got to get to work, you're just going to try and get it done as fast as possible. Now you may have not done the type of workout that we're looking for. But if we know you have an hour, you just know what time you got to wake up. You know what time, you know how long the session is. It's very good for overall volume. We can count the amount of hours that we're in these zones per week. So that's another reason why I'm switching to more of these time-based workouts as opposed to these distance metrics that we're all talking about. Now, there are some times when distance is appropriate as far as like some mental goals there, like Ironman training. It's good to hit that 70 and 80 mile metric sometimes, that 100 mile, that century ride, especially if it's the athlete's first time hitting that 100 miler. Like those are good mental milestones as well. It would be pretty crappy if I gave you like 5 hours on the bike and then you wound up with 96 miles afterwards and you're like, oh man, I should have did my century. So sometimes I will say, hey, today we're going for that century mark. We're going for that mile metric because that is a milestone we need to hit in training a couple times throughout. So that's just a quick sum and substance about the time versus distance question that I got. And I can definitely hit that again more on why you can go get heart rate versus pace, RPE. I've done all these different things and I've mixed them, and different workouts sometimes go by different means and metrics. So for now, that's all I got for this week. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, keep balancing that life 1 mile at a time. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the feedback and all the support, and we'll see you on the next one.